Alright friends, well welcome back. Video number 2. As I said in my first video, this is my journey through creating the shop that I want, while hopefully teaching a little bit about woodworking, showing the stuff that I've built and the mistakes I make and the ways I get over them. Case in point, here is my new miter station. I know you can go online. I'm not going to claim this to be the ultimate, the perfect, the best, the anything like that, because everybody builds things that fit their needs. This is going to fit my needs the way that it sits, and it's going to be an evolution in how I break down material. As I've been building this, I'm realizing multiple issues that have come up that I didn't think about. One case being the current slider that I have. I can only turn it to about a 30-degree angle. If I put a dust shroud over the top, the rear slider hangs too far over the table. So the width of my opening where my saw sits is not either A, not wide enough, or I have to think about getting a different saw. I don't know. Again, issues that have come up that I'm trying to work through. I'm figuring out what works, what doesn't work. I'm breaking this video up a little bit because this is going to be a long, drawn-out process. It's going to be a lot of mistakes, a lot of learning, maybe some backtracking, but in the end, this is always going to be a functional area. One, I built an oversized table on the left, which is 8 feet long, with a 4-foot table on the right. I can use this to assemble, stack, store material behind the cutting plane of the chop saw. I also put multiple drawers, shelf sliders. I do have a few open cabinets, which I think I'm going to use to stack some sustainer systems in there in order to store individual sets of hardware. Maybe I'll make one box for nothing but cabinet hardware, one box for, I don't know. I haven't decided. Like I said, this is going to be a learning experience for me, and hopefully if you watch this and you get some good knowledge out of it or something, maybe entertainment. Maybe you can comment on all the ways that I'm making this incorrectly and, see what you think would work better, or give me some constructive feedback. Constructive criticism is always accepted. I do not ever claim to know everything, nor will I, because I believe that we can learn throughout whatever journey we're taking. And right now, this is the journey. So come along, watch me build this thing from what I had with my mobile job site stand in here to now I have, 6 cabinets, 12 drawers, well, I guess 2 cabinets, 12 drawer slides, where I'm going to start storing all of my tools until I can redo that side of the shop. So let's see what I'm doing.
Alright, so here I am. I had to solicit the help of my wife to help me unload. I believe it was 4 or 5, I think it was 5 sheets of 3/4 inch sanded plywood from the big box store. You'll see me struggle a little bit later while I'm trying to load one of these sheets by myself onto a table saw, but getting it out of the truck down the steps, it's just easier to get someone to help out. And so my wife was kind enough to lend me her hand. Um, After we get it all unloaded, it's time to start breaking it down into the cabinet sides. So what I'm doing here is I'm ripping each sheet down to the total depth that each cabinet is going to be. Right there, I'm double checking my measurement and, of course, thinking about what I'm doing. And plus, trying to teach my youngest son, who always wants to be in the video, what is and isn't good to do and good practice in a wood shop. So there I was loading up a sheet. I'm ripping it down. I think I ripped 3 of the 5 sheets down to create the sides of the cabinets. That was going to give me enough to have 6 boards that I will cut into the 6 cabinets that I end up with at the end of this build. Since I don't have a track saw, I was just measuring my offset of my worm drive circular saw, and I'm using that and one of those Amazon clamping straight edges. It works good enough for this. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't cut too deep, and also that I had some standoff blocks so I didn't go into the sheet below it. But here I am just cutting up. I'll go through all 6 of these boards, which will give me 12 box sides for all 6 cabinets. After I'm done cutting this stack, I'll basically just move on to cutting all of the support stretchers, either the tops that are the countertop will sit on, or the toe kick and the back. Here's the final pile, and of course, photobomber again. But here's me checking the styles and measuring out. He's just trying to get in the middle of the camera while I'm getting this shot of me measuring out the toe kicks. So it's quite interesting having a 5 and a 9-year-old. Mind you, this is just my 5-year-old. So here I am cutting out the toe kicks. I start with the circular saw thinking that'll give me the best edge and straightest cut, and then come back in with the jigsaw. But yeah, I think I kind of got lazy and ended up just going straight for the jigsaw for the rest of them. I suppose if this were like finished cabinetry and I were doing it for someone's kitchen or bathroom or something, I'd definitely have stuck with the circular saw until I cut the rest, but instead I just went straight jigsaw. It was faster, easier, and I just basically plowed through them quick, fast, and in a hurry. I wasn't really trying to make them perfect, but it got the job done, and I ended up with all the toe kicks cut out pretty quick. The next step was this pile, and this is the endless pocket hole. That was only one set of the styles. I had, I think, 6 piles, 6 or 8 piles of that size, just pocket holing away. It was the quickest way that I could get it done. So after I got all the pockets, I started assembling the cabinets. I used one clamp as a kickstand as I was setting the stiles with some glue and clamping them up with another parallel clamp. I notice when I use pocket holes, they tend to shift a lot, so it makes it so much easier to clamp it in place with a good clamp, then add the glue, then clamp it, screw it down, makes it so much easier. I basically rinse and repeated this on all 6 cabinets, and there's my helper, making sure I got the right boards in the right places, and knocking out all 6 cabinets, just like this one. after I got the cabinets built, which I think I will show you here in a second, this is me cutting down the tops for the laminate top. I laminated two 3/4 inch pieces of particle board because I'm going to put some Formica on this as the work surface. Um, and this is me cutting them down since I don't have, my max width is 30 inches, and I think these were 36 in total. Um, I just took the offside of my table saw, the long side, and cut off that excess 10 inches. I think it was like 9 3/4, but here's me starting to the lamination. I just rolled out an obscene amount of glue um, and set one piece on top of the other. As you can see, the shop helpers are putting the clamps on, and then I'm going to go around and just stack as much weight as I can on this just to try to get it to glue together smoothly, which I think it did. It ended up being pretty level surface. There wasn't very many warps or, uneven glue spots. So, um, yeah. Then I broke down for the small workbench. I cut the last sheet of particle board in half. Used that to cover the 4-foot section of the work surface, which is the short side, and doing the same thing on the table saw. I ripped off 9 inches um, just to make it the same equal distance as the big 8-foot section. So after I rip them down, I do the same thing, roll out a bunch of glue, obscene amount, and then clamp and put some weight on it. I ran out of dumbbells, so I ended up using the other heavy equipment that I got, the lunchbox planer. Yep, that thing definitely weighs enough. So put that on there for a little while. I let all these surfaces dry overnight, so it had plenty of time to adhere and cure. And then I put together the miter station. This is where I started seeing my first problem um, with the swing arm and the length of that rear slider. But I'll go into a little bit more detail a little later on. But this is about as far as I got on this day. Um, so after I set up my rear slider chop saw and set it in the cabinet, I started working on my face frames. I initially began doing it on the floor, and as you can see, I moved up to the table. It's just easier. And the cabinets and countertop were already relatively square and flat, so it made it pretty easy to line them up and set them up. After I did the small cabinet, I started with the large cabinet. Again, same thing, pocket holes. Just clamped it down, threw a few screws in it, and got all of my cabinets lined up. I did end up making a spreader bar, as you can see right here, to make sure that they are evenly spaced, the exact width of each of my cabinets, and that made quick work of it. Made it a lot easier to keep everything lined up nice and even and no issues. After I did that, I started to do the cross sections. These are the little dividers for each of the shelves that are going to have drawer pullouts in them. Again, made 2 little dividers, threw a little clamp on there, screwed it in. It made quick, fast, easy work of it. Setting up so that I had 6 drawers on the right cabinet, 6 drawers on the large left cabinet, with an open cabinet slash shelf space in the middle of the large cabinet. So here's me assembling the little one, setting it up in place. After I checked to make sure everything was going to line up and fit, I went and did a light sanding on all of the face frames. This was easier to do when it was not already installed, so I decided to do it on my workbench. Made it a little bit easier. Plus, I'm able to soften all the corners. I just used a block and sandpaper, as most of these edges will be covered up with drawer fronts. But this was the quickest and easiest way to make sure that, there weren't sharp 90 degrees on all the edges. So did that, did the same on the large cabinet, and then I did throw glue on there and spread it around evenly, and then I just pin nailed it in place to get it lined up and square, and then made sure that everything was lined up nice and easy. Um, After I got everything all lined up is when I got my laminate, and I started with, measuring out, seeing where my laminate's going to go. I then would mark it um, and, break it down into the size sheets that I needed. I moved that one out of the way. I ended up using the X-Acto knife scoring method. Basically, you just put a straight edge, score the sheet, bend it up, and snap, breaks right off. It's pretty easy. And then I checked my alignment, made sure that I didn't cut it too short. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get the video for some reason of me gluing this down with contact adhesive, but contact adhesive is basically pretty easy. You simply roll it out on both surfaces, the underside of the laminate and the top side of the countertop, let them dry for about 20-30 minutes, and then once they touch, it's tacked down. So this is me putting the face frame on the countertop.
Alright, so while trimming my face frame even, you can see I have a big blowout here, ripped it up. I think I left the top too high, and the router ended up picking it up, chunked it out here, here, and here. But this isn't perfect, so I think the best thing I can do that I probably is just grab a little spreader, get some glue as deep down in there as I can, and then clamp it up. And you know what? It's a shop furniture, so it's not going to be perfect, but it will definitely have some character. So just going to put a little glue in there, make sure I get some on both sides, all the way through to the back. Throw a little clamp. And then, yep, good squeeze out. And I guess I'll just see how it goes. Have a little bit of character up front, That's the best way I can think of fixing it. Any comments? Let me know.
After learning my lesson from the face frame, and putting this side rail on, I took my plane and brought it down to just above the surface so I wouldn't have any blowouts, and it worked perfectly. Now, here's the start of building drawer boxes. So I decided to rip long runners of equal height and or width that would be later cut down into all of my drawer sections. After that, I hooked up a dado stack to run my 1/2-inch dado down one side, which is gonna be the bottom of each drawer. I made these drawers super heavy duty because most of them will have tools in them. And as you can see, I put a little pressure block on the top. It's just holding down right over the dado stack, and I'm just running all the boards through so that I can get them done. Afterwards, I cut them to length, and here's basic drawer 101. Dado stack, pin it in the middle. After that, decided to sand the internal surfaces of all of my pieces because I know that once the drawers are assembled, sanding inside's not going to happen. So I spent a couple hours sanding and nothing but sanding. Once the sanding was all done, I assembled the boxes, pretty straightforward. Laid a bead of glue down the dado and all four corners. As you can see, it goes pretty quick. I just pinned them in each corner, and the glue is going to be the most, for the most part, the thing that holds these together. Plus, the base is 1/2-inch, so it keeps them nice and square. So this is me doing a test fit, putting the first slider in. It's figuring out if the drawers are going to fit. As I place the first drawer down in the bottom, I realized real quick that I made a mistake and they're too narrow. The slides would not catch. So after setting the middle drawer in, I came up with an idea and using a spacer block to try to fill out that last 1/8 of an inch.
Alright, so here's how I decided to fix my issue with these drawers being an 1/8 of an inch too short. So rather than rebuild 12 drawer boxes, I'm going to use these little spacers. They're an 1/8 of an inch wide. Lesson learned for next time. So basically what I'm doing is I'm setting my sliders on my drawer first, and I'm just letting them be parallel to the bottom, even with the bottom of the drawer. Just setting in 3 screws in the rail, setting in the first 2 with the rail still attached to get it parallel, holding to the deck. Ooh. And then what I'm going to do is I'm using a little bit of CA glue. I don't have a preference, but I'm using Mitra Apple. I don't know. However you say that. Get it on Amazon. Haven't figured out how to add links to all the stuff I'm using, so I would just search it on Amazon. But throwing a couple dabs down on the metal rail. Oh dear. Throwing a little bit of the activator on the board, which I'm getting low, which makes sense because that glue is almost empty. So, setting that up, let that sit for a second when I put this last screw in. Go. Alright, so that'll hold that on there while I get ready to install the last rail. 1, 2, and 3. I've already done some of my drawer boxes and I've already set them in. I'm going to show you how I did that because that was a learning experience in itself. I ended up, because I don't have one of them fancy jigs, I ended up making just a quick template with a height stop, and I know that this is square, so what I'm doing is I'm clamping this to my face frame, and I'll show you, checking to make sure that this is then square, and I'm using this to set the top one. I'm moving it down to the middle shelf, and then I know between the two bottom shelves I have just under 9 inches. It's like 8 7/8. So from bottom of the rail to the top of the rail for the bottom shelf. So that'll evenly space them. And then I just clamp this to the face frame inside of the cabinet and then set the rails on top and bottom and then screw in the rails into the side of the cabinets. But let me reset the camera, take you down there. I'll show you the small side of the cabinet. I'll do one set of 3, explain how I did it, and then show you how they look when they're all done, all installed. So here's what I came up with was the easiest. So it's kind of hard to see, but I got this little edge right here. Basically I just come up into here, I clamp this 1/4 inch even with my cross bar, and I make sure that I'm lined up with the seam of the cabinet. I go ahead and clamp this down right here. A little bit of squeeze action. I'm going to check for square for the most part. Little bump. There we go. Then I take my strip with the fairing on it, or spacer, whatever you want to call it. Set that right on there, and I'm lining up with the front of the face frame. I then have, I'm sure, well, I did not grab them. Then have a little bit longer screws, just little machine screws that I'm using to go through the spacer.
So once I figured out a quick and easy method, knocking out the other drawer slides was quick and fast. As you can see, I got the one done, moved on to my last set of cabinets, got the last 12 slides installed, and after they are done and installed comes the test fit and putting all the drawers in and seeing the final product. That's pretty much where I'm at right now, and that is the last bit of this video, putting all these drawers in. So
Alright, thanks for coming along with me up to this point and checking out my miter station build. It's going to be a work in progress. I'll do another video on what I decide to do with these drawer fronts. I haven't decided on a design for the fronts and how I'm going to make them, but I do want to make them, so we're going to come up with something cool and interesting, hopefully. And then also we'll come up with some way of quick access / storage for the 2 large cabinets. And then also in that video will probably be the fit and finish. Haven't decided if I'm gonna stain this or just seal it. But that'll all be in the next video. And you'll see how I end up finishing off my miter station. And maybe I might also have a new one of these depending on how I plan on setting up the dust shroud. So we'll see. But otherwise, thanks for coming out. Thanks for checking out my video. And I've got a couple of special guests that want to send y'all a message. So let me go grab them. All right, as promised, I found my special guests. They have a message for you. Come on over here. One here. Come on over here. What do you got to say?
You must like and subscribe and hit the notification bell.
And then like and subscribe the button.
Oh yeah. Do you guys like Daddy's channel?
Yep.
Yeah? What's
Yep.
the future plans?
I don't know. Maybe.
Come on, you gotta stand over here. on the camera.
I got an idea.
What?
Fight a piglin.
You guys are gonna fight piglins from Zelda?
Yep.
Yeah, and also maybe we can build like cool little weapons.
Yep.
Like, cause my dad builds us weapons all the time. We used to be in San Diego.
And an axe.
We used to live there, and my dad would we would have a weapon, and I have one right now.
All
Where is
right.
it?
And I got
Show
an axe.
weapon, Daddy?
Nope, this is it. This is the close of the video.
Okay, bye.
Say thank you.
Bye. Thank you. And
Bye.
don't forget to like and sub and hit the notification.